Okay, so we're going back to the case 4 here, with 4 people in it. So what did you mean?
So you mean person 1 sits in seat 2 or 3.
Okay. So that happens a fourth of the time.
Yep.
Okay.
So, a third of the time, person 2 will sit in seat 1, and then they'll get their 3 and 4 will get their assigned seats.
Okay.
Third of the time, person 1 will sit in seat 3, which case it'll be half and half.
Okay. So that'll be 1/6.
And then a third of the time, person 2 will sit here, and person 4 will never get their seat.
Okay.
And this, a third plus a sixth, is what we got in our previous set with just 3 people.
Ah, okay, I see. So what you're saying is, when the first person sits in one of the seats 2 through 99, or in this case 2 through 3, this looks like the case with 3 people.
And then person 2 just becomes person 1, and you ignore this.
Okay. So let's see if we can make that analogy a little bit more clear. Why does this look like the case with 3 people?
Well, because now you have 3 people left, and you have 3 seats left.
Okay. And how does it work similarly to the case with 3 people?
Well, the second person can't get his assigned seat, so he has to choose a random seat.
Ah, okay. Has to choose a random seat.
And if he chooses this seat, it's kind of like him getting his assigned seat, because that means everybody else can get their assigned seats.
Ah, okay. So now it's like the case with 1 fewer person. But now it's as if the person whose seat was taken is person number 1.
Yeah.
And it reduces to the prior case.
Yeah.
Maybe we could do that again if he chooses seat 3.
Okay.
So then this third person would be person 1.
Uh-huh.
If he gets his assigned seat, then the rest can get their assigned seats. So it would be like the two case.
Yeah.
So it simplifies. You can simplify each case.
Ah, you can simplify each case to the case that came before it. And what have we learned about the case with 2 people? What's the probability?
It's a half.
So the case with 3 people is
Half.
a half.
And then half,
It
all the
will
way
just
up.
keep being a half, because you can just simplify it down to the 2 case. So the case with 100 people will be a half.
Uh-huh. Very interesting. Very interesting observation.
Every case but with 1 person and 1 seat will be a half.
Okay. Now let me ask you one other thing. We have about a minute left here. Person number 100, or the last person to get on the plane. As we've done this, did you notice where that person ends up? Always?
Well, he either ends up in his own seat.
Okay, so there's some probability that that person ends up in their own seat. So that is half the time that we've discovered. What about the other half of the time? Where does that person end up?
Seat 1.
Why?
Because
The first person didn't take his assigned seat.
Okay.
That means the last person has only 1 choice to sit if his seat is taken.
Okay. So what's another way we could say that? So if the first person took seat 1, everything else falls into place.
yeah.
But there were lots of other cases where the first person took seat 1 and the last person did still get their assigned seat. So it's a hair more complicated. But is there another way to explain why the last person either ends up in the first seat or the last seat?
Well, because if somewhere along the way someone took seat 1,
Uh-huh.
then it would be like anyone, let's say the nth person took seat 1, it would be like all the people below n took their assigned seats.
Okay.
So
And
then everyone else beyond them would take their assigned seats.
Okay, so as soon as anyone sits in seat 1, game over.
Yeah.
This person wins. And what is the situation where this person does not win?
if they themselves take seat 1. Or they have to take seat 1.
Yeah, but what has to happen for that?
Someone
to
else
happen?
has to take seat, whatever they're in.
Yeah. The way this person loses is somebody takes this seat. And the way they win is nobody takes this seat.
This would be annoying for a plane with 1,000 people. He goes all the way to the end and discovers his seat is taken. He has to go all the way back.
Well, luckily, if the plane had 1,000 people and you were the last person on board, if you saw one empty seat, you would know it was yours. Right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, anyway. This is a cool puzzle.
Yeah.
It seems, when you first hear it, you think, wow, there's going to be no way to even tackle this. But it actually, if you start thinking about it in some simple cases, you can solve it. It's a fun little problem. All right, good job, guys.